Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this particular video, I'd like to talk about the Addams Family, a franchise that, hands down, I've always felt a level of simpatico with. If you've ever been somebody like me who has been a comic book fan or a Star Trek fan, Doctor Who fan of, horror movies, skulls and metal music, stuff like that, stuff that usually isn't considered the norm. I mean, with comic books and geeky stuff, it's becoming much more so the norm nowadays, but at least when I was in school, I was kind of the freaky kid who had his own interests. And if you've ever had a sense of feeling like an outcast like that, traveling to the beat of your own drum, you can always find a level of resonating with the Addams Family, whether it be the 1960s TV series version or, in this case, what I'd like to talk about today, the 1991 and 1993, respectively, big screen adaptations of the Addams Family by Barry Sonnenfeld. The Addams Family and Addams Family Values, respectively. These are two, big screen adaptations, as I say, film versions of the Addams Family, all based, I might add, on the sort of comic strip by Charles Addams. This was very much akin to something like The Far Side in that it had dark humor and sort of quirky and weird humor and stuff like that. Lots of gothic, ambiance, if you will. And these particular films, I mean, I loved the 60s TV series starring John Astin, of course, as Gomez Addams. And in this particular case, I felt like these movies were definitely an interpretation unto themselves, whereas they didn't deflate by any sense of the word the TV series for me. It just added to, added layers to the whole mythos that is the Addams Family. Of course, I always loved both the 60s TV series as well as the Munsters, which sometimes you hear people talking about, well, one is better than the other and so forth, and I actually always loved them both. Herman Munster is the man, but as far as these movies goes, it stars Raul Julia as Gomez Addams, of course, Angelica Houston as Morticia. You have Christopher Lloyd, playing a role in this first movie that is a question mark. I'll leave it there if you've never seen the films, because essentially what the story has to do with is Gomez, he's been pining for the last 25 years over the loss of his brother, Fester. Uncle Fester, who is, that's how he's better known. Essentially, Fester and he had a falling out when they were younger men, and he's disappeared for the last 25 years. And this all coincides with their family lawyer, played by Dan Hedaya, who is really hard up for some money, and he knows the Addams Family is the last best hope he has of getting some money. And he ends up working with this woman who has a son, air quotes, who is the spitting image of Uncle Fester, the misting Uncle Fester. And they decide to do a sort of, swing hit con on the Addams Family, make this guy look like Fester, get on the inside, and try to con them out of the money. And there's lots of, sort of quirky humor, as is the norm for the Addams Family. Lots of crazy Addams Family relatives that show up in the movie, and twists and turns in the story that, by the end of it, let's just say Uncle Fester comes home, the real genuine article. And it's just fantastic. Of course, you have Christina Ricci in one of her, I think, her first on-screen efforts as Wednesday Addams as well. And all of the favorite Addams Family characters from Gomez, Morticia, Lurch, Cousin It, Thing, and Wednesday and Pugsley, all of them, Grandmama, and all of them are there, as well as the sequel, which has to do, sort of centers around Fester once again, in that you essentially have this woman called the Black Widow, played by Joan Cusack, sister to John Cusack, who is a notable actor, who is a praying mantis on, single wealthy guys. She basically marries them, knocks them off on the wedding night, and then steals the money. And it's the family dealing with that, as well as dealing with a newborn addition to the family, and the children's jealousy and having to be sent off to summer camp against their will to get them out of the house. And just very funny, awesome movies. The second one is not quite as good as the first. Too much time in that summer camp. But in any case, I absolutely love them. I'm a longtime fan of the Addams Family, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you're a fan of the films and or the TV series or any of the other iterations. I know there's a musical play as well, and hopefully, in the works, Tim Burton claymation film as well, stop motion. So I'd love to hear from you about what kind of Addams Family stuff you love or, don't, and otherwise, that'll be it for me. So I'll catch you later. Peace.